I work for North Korea's Bureau 39. We recently started selling super soldier serum. Nikolai came into the house I shared with a dozen other employees of Bureau 39. I could see the bulge of the gargantuan black pistol he always kept holstered under his suit jacket. He rubbed one calloused hand over his freshly shaved head before taking a deep drag of his cigarette and flicking the ashes all over the wooden floor. He smoked Yves Saint Laurent, a brand of cigarettes that Kim Jong-un also loved. They cost $1.60 a pack, the equivalent of a month's wages for most North Koreans. We lived in very cramped conditions. I slept on the floor on a blanket, feeling the hardwood like a bed of nails under my back. Computers and tables took up the entire front room of the two-bedroom house. Nikolai pointed at me and my brother with his half-smoked cigarette. He narrowed his cold blue eyes at us. They looked like the eyes of a Siberian husky, the faded color of melting glaciers. "Moon," he said, nodding at me. "Take your brother Shin and come with me." Shin pushed his large black-framed glasses up his bulbous nose. His greasy black bowl cut flew around his head as he turned away from his laptop, jumping up without a word. I got up just as fast. We were never allowed to leave the embassy here in Cambodia. We were kept as virtual prisoners. Everyone in Bureau 39 was at the top of their field. We had hackers, programmers of ransomware, manufacturers of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and much darker trades than that. Throughout its history, the Bureau had sold chemical weapons, biological agents, nuclear secrets, torture, and murder. To get the cash back to North Korea, we would use diplomats from the embassies, since they had immunity and couldn't be stopped even if caught carrying millions of dollars. In North Korea, the average person makes about $1,000 a year. Most have no electricity in their homes. People often defecate in the bushes or in buckets, and all farm labor is done with animals and antique plows. Going to the rural areas is like taking a time machine back to the 1700s in a way. So people signed up for Bureau 39 or any other elite agency by the droves in order to escape these intolerable living conditions. The government had the pick of the litter. To get into the capital city of Pyongyang, a citizen of North Korea needs a special permit. Only the elites are allowed to step foot inside city limits. And yet, even here, electricity often only runs for 2 or 3 hours a day. According to North Korean law, if a building has 10 stories or less, it doesn't need an elevator. Not that an elevator matters much in a country with barely any electricity for civilian purposes. But this means starving people are regularly climbing up dozens of stories in buildings with no electricity, central heating, or air conditioning. So even though Bureau 39 agents are kept like prisoners in the embassy, we still have luxuries the average North Korean can only dream of. Perhaps 30 or 40% of their entire North Korean GDP goes to nuclear and intercontinental missile research. Even in the military, the soldiers regularly eat grass, snakes, rats, and other pests. North Koreans who have escaped to South Korea often have advanced parasite infections from eating such garbage their entire lives. The South Koreans recently found 35 feet of tapeworm in a single starving North Korean soldier who drove and then ran across the DMZ, getting shot multiple times in the process. So perhaps you understand why I preferred to work in Bureau 39 at a foreign embassy rather than stay in North Korea. Bureau 39 exists for only one reason: to give hundreds of millions of dollars to Kim Jong-un for mansions, cars, women, luxury cigarettes, exotic foods, and whatever else he desires. It is a slush fund for the great leader. While the rest of his people starve and live in freezing poverty without medicine or hope, Kim Jong-un lives like a god among men. At each of his many mansions, he has harems waiting for him filled with all the most beautiful girls in the country, taken out of schools by faceless agents of this Stalinist kingdom. Nikolai walked out into the tropical Cambodian sun. I felt blinded for a minute. I saw Shin shielding his eyes and blinking rapidly, as if he had just woken up from a long nightmare. "Please enter your password," the female robotic voice said in a tone so cool it reminded me of ice cream on a scorching day. "The alarm will sound in 5 seconds." Sweating heavily in the heat, Nikolai straightened his collar and began pressing a series of numbers. Once he realized I was watching, he swore at me and tried to cover the pad with his other hand, but I had seen the code. 2023. It was just the year. I repressed an urge to laugh. "Come on, scumbags," Nikolai said, taking his designer sunglasses out of his front suit pocket. "We have a meeting to attend. I'll explain on the way." He unlocked the Mercedes-Benz with the North Korean diplomatic plates on it, and we got in. The car still felt cold from the air conditioning. The smell of Nikolai's overpriced cigarettes and even more expensive cologne hung in the air. I got in the passenger seat and Shin got in the back. We drove out through the open gate. Once the car had passed the end of the private drive, sensors automatically caused the gate to swing shut, locking the other North Korean prisoners inside, including my wife. We drove past the Buddhist temples and modern skyscrapers of the Cambodian skyline, a combination of ancient stone and gleaming glass. Nikolai lit up a cigarette and, without looking at me, started speaking, as if to himself. "We have a deal, bigger than any we have had in a long time," he said, staring ahead at the heavy traffic of tuk-tuks, taxis, farm trucks, and cars. He swore as he checked his watch. "A group is willing to pay handsomely for the serum." I looked up sharply at those words. The serum is not ready, I protested. Shin stayed silent in the back. I spun to see his expression. His glasses magnified his wide, shocked eyes to owlish proportions. Nikolai swatted his hand at my comment, as if shooing away an imaginary fly. Haven't human subjects responded to the effects of the serum? He asked, his tone turning icy. You have had over 3 years and tens of millions of dollars to experiment. I know you two are some of the best biologists from the entire country of North Korea. Now are you telling me that you have made no human progress? Of course not, I protested, but we still have some kinks to work out. It has most of the properties that the Supreme Leader requested. It's just that some subjects have different cellular membranes, and it can lead to quite horrifying reactions. Nikolai laughed, a deep booming laugh that cut off my protestations. I don't give a shit about side effects. We are selling the serum, right now, today. If not, you can consider your experiment over. We have a group, let's say, who is willing to pay $100 million for a single crate of it. My jaw dropped. And what will happen to our project if we sell some of the serum? Shin asked, speaking up in his nasally voice for the first time. Project Wailing Banshee is not yet complete. We need more time. Nikolai turned to us, grinning like a hyena, his faded killer's eyes sparkling with glee. If you sell the serum to our good friends, Nikolai whispered in a low, psychopathic voice, your funding will be guaranteed for the next 2 years. The serum doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to work. I sighed. Clearly I had no real choice in the matter. I turned to Nikolai and gave a brisk nod. I saw Shin do the same. Good. I'll have a panel van bring it over to our meeting area now. These men we're dealing with might have some questions for you. Just answer them and let's get out of there. No problems, right? Right, Shin and I said together in unison. An icy wave of dread ran down my back, a premonition of things to come. We arrived at the warehouse at the edge of the city at dusk. The sky glowed a bloody red, reflecting off Nikolai's dark sunglasses. I saw the black panel van following close behind us with some more of Nikolai's armed goons sitting in the front. An intercom buzzer stood at the side of the garage door. Nikolai pressed it. After a few moments, a voice boomed on the other end, slightly obscured by static. Who is it? A man with an Arabic accent asked brusquely. You know who it is, open up, Nikolai said. The door rolled up slowly, revealing only a curtain of shadows. We drove in and got out. I heard my shoes clicking against the concrete floor. The place looked abandoned. An open floor stretched out for hundreds of feet in every direction. From the office door in the back, a few men dressed in all black with balaclavas on their heads walked out. I saw they all had automatic rifles slung around their shoulders. A small boy in the same attire followed closely behind the group. Nikolai's 2 goons got out of the black panel van. I saw them reach under their seats and pull out micro-Uzis. The tension in the air felt electric. No one said anything for a long moment as we surveyed each other across the dark no-man's land between us. I'm glad to see you made it, Nikolai called out, his voice echoing off the concrete walls. I jumped. Next to me, Shin looked down at the ground, nervously chewing on his lip. Did you bring it? The leading man asked as they strode purposefully towards us. Where is the serum? Hang on, Nikolai said, giving them a crooked half-smile. I need to see the money first. He motioned with his head to his soldiers. They raised their Uzis. The leading man called out something in Arabic, and more black-clad soldiers came out of the back office, dragging dozens of heavy black bags. Nikolai and his goons walked quickly forward. I followed close behind, taking Shin's arm and pulling him along. Nikolai unzipped one bag. I saw it stuffed to the brim with stacks of $100 bills. The next bag over was filled with euros, and the third with gold and diamonds. I had never seen so much money in a single place in my entire life. He kept going through each one in turn, and I saw more precious stones, all sorts of gold bars, Canadian dollars, Japanese yen, and some other currencies with Arabic writing I didn't recognize. Nikolai grunted.